We believe that a man presiding over the affairs of the Nigerian Senate, should be a man of honor, should be a man, that, shouldn't have this kind of skeleton in his cupboard. This woman, Senator Natasha, made serious allegations, that mustn't be swept under the carpet. And she said these things happened with my husband, closely at my back, and that the husband was even eavesdropping, So it calls for concern. And I am, on the issue of integrity, I am charging all the institutions of the federal government of Nigeria. There's a code of conduct bureau that is a foremost anti-corruption agency, that should, oversee the issue of abuse of office, abuse of privilege, and the issue of integrity in public service. I am encouraging Senator Natasha, to, extend her petition to the Code of Conduct Bureau. They are constitutionally empowered to look into petitions, and if they establish a prima facie case, on the petition, they refer it to the Code of Conduct Tribunal, so that probably Akpabio will be the next sitting Senate president after Bukola Saraki that may face, the Code of Conduct Tribunal. So the issue of integrity of the Senate, must not be compromised. That's what we are saying as lawyers in defense of democracy. We are saying that this matter should be thoroughly investigated, and for there to be justice, if you want to apply the law, if you want to apply the rule of law and the rule of justice, apply it strictly. You don't have to apply rule of law in one instance and abandon rule of law in another instance. So if you want the matter truly handled in accordance with the Senate standing rules and in accordance with the fair hearing provisions of the 1999 Constitution, you do that unbiasedly. And doing that, the first point of call is for the Senate President to step aside, for him to step aside, because he cannot be a judge on his own cause. He is the respondent. Senator Akpabio is the respondent in Natasha's petition. He has to step aside. He cannot be a judge in on his own cause. So if they don't want to, if they don't want to follow, finally, if they don't want to follow the law strictly, they can apply political solution to it. Call Natasha made very serious allegation, against the person of the Senate President. So these are the issue. These are the substantive issue. So we cannot sweep them under the carpet. The woman is saying, no, what happened at the plenary is not the matter, it's not the main issue. The main issue began so day at the house of the Senate President when he was celebrating his birthday. He said so thing to me, a kind of sexual advancement. And she has formally presented a petition for sexual harassment or for attempted sexual advancement against the person of Senator Natasha. That is the substance of the matter. Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Akpabio, cannot be a judge in his own cause. This is a primary and elementary principle of law. He is the Senate President. He is the chairman of the National Assembly. He appoints the chairman of Senate Ethics and Ethics Committee and Petition and Public Petition that has already declared Natasha's petition dead on arrival. So the issue, the fact remains that upon this serious allegation that borders on partly on code of conduct of the sitting Senate President, whether or not Natasha can get fair hearing before this committee. So the Senate President should honorably step aside so that Natasha can get justice, so that an independent, unbiased umpire, unbiased committee on public petition can look into the substance of the allegation of sexual harassment against her person. Nobody sits as a judge on her own cause. These are elementary principles of law. Natural justice and fair hearing. Audi altering pattern. Nemo jude kusaswa. As it stands today, he is the respondent in Natasha's petition. So he would have to be heard. He will appear before the committee to answer the issues that are raised in Natasha's petition. So both parties must be heard. So will there be justice and fair hearing for Natasha? No. under the presidency of Akpabio as the president of Nigerian Senate, the right thing should be done in this country for once, for Christ's sake. This man, you have an allegation, a huge allegation, a heinous allegation of sexual harassment against a sitting senator, and you cannot continue to sit as the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to preside over her petition against your person. At least we saw what happened yesterday at the plenary. She told the Senate President to his face that what is before the court is the issue of cyberbullying. A statement made by your SA on new media. It is not the same subject matter as to whether or not as to the statement I made on Arise Television, that issue is not yet before any court of competent jurisdiction, that her petition should be accepted. And good thing, she was allowed to lay her petition. Now, what we should be looking at, particularly as lawyers in defense of democracy, as activists, as civil society organizations, is whether Natasha will get justice in the present circumstances. Who is the man presiding over at the helm of affairs of the Senate, Akpabio? Who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Public Petition, a man appointed by Akpabio? Will Natasha get justice in these circumstances? Obviously no. So we are calling on the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Akpabio, to do the needful. Honorably step aside as the Senate President so that this matter can be thoroughly investigated. And this matter cannot be swept under the carpet. You cannot bully her. You cannot continue, to intimidate her by rejecting her petition, telling her that her petition is dead on arrival, while at the same time you want her to face the Committee on Ethics and Public Petition over her conduct at the plenary. So what we are saying is that if justice must be done, justice must be seen to have been done. These are age-long elementary principles of law, that justice must not just be done, but must be manifestly seen to be done. The Senate rule is subject to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that guarantees every citizen right to fair hearing.
Thank you. Okay, I can see Mr. Okpawa gearing to respond to some of the things you've said. I think particularly with regards to the Senate President stepping down, since he's also joined, he is the principal, accused, if I use that word, in this particular matter. And beyond the Senate President is also the chairman of the Senate, the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions, Senator Ekpa, who was also appointed by the Senate President. I have to put in here, though, that he's a member of the Labour Party, from Edo South Senatorial District, so they don't belong to the same party. Are there any opportunities or chances of a fair hearing, despite the fact that he's not a member of the APC, the ruling party? So he and Senator Akpabio are not in the same party. And then your take on what Mr. Okere said about, Senator Akpabio stepping down. Beyond that, Mr. Okere, I'd like to ask you to go further. Since they say that she missed procedural, her procedural matter, she didn't follow procedure in terms of the petition was raised in her name, can she now go back and do it properly and represent this matter before the committee? And then in the event that happens, what would be the procedure? What are the consequences if it happens? But let me start with Mr. Akpara first.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. In the first instance, I did not say that Senator Akpoti has no right to present her case. It is her fundamental right to present her case. What we are talking about is the procedure. If you have a good case and you channel it from a very wrong angle, you are going to lose it. There is a procedure for the court, for the National Senate, which we are expected to follow. Did you follow the procedure? That one is no. Because the petition which you submitted, starting from that one, then your last question, which you submitted is defective. And that was the reason why they said it's dead on arrival, because it is defective, it's fundamentally defective. They will strike it out, you go and they represent it. That one is on that. Then two, you are talking about Senator Akpabio stepping down. There are procedures. Supreme Court has even resolved it. If you have any criminal allegation against a judge now, that judge must face the disciplinary committee of NJC. Immediately NJC finish and come up with their report and indict the judge, the judge will now step down from that particular, from being a judge, and he will be handed over to the police for prosecution. Now, as we speak now, the Ethics and Privileges Committee must do their matter, finish their matter. If Senator Akpabio was able to present her case with evidence, now they will now resolve. The Senate President should step aside and face the wrath of the law. These are the procedure. If it is a mere allegation, anybody can raise an allegation. I can, if I need the House of Rep Speaker to be out. It's all about telling somebody to just raise alarm. He made sexual advances against me. And everybody, the women, everybody will protest. As a matter of fact, yesterday, I spent all my time with Minister for Women Affairs. I left her office around 7. What was I there for? Where some 3-year-old child was defied by the father. 12-year-old child was raped by 3 men and infected her with HIV. I took the matter to Minister for Women Affairs yesterday. So the point I'm trying to make is that I'm against somebody harassing anybody, a female gender, sexually. Now, what are we talking about? You must follow your case. Don't present your case as if you have a personal animosity, as if somebody is sponsoring you to age the Senate President out. And don't politicize everything. Just like Dr. Abati said, if you have a matter, you have a rules guiding you. Just like the first time he was making this thing started, he was in a wrong seat. And they said you cannot speak from a wrong seat. You just go to your right seat. Then you now exercise your privileges under Order 10. So these are the issues. On the issue of court have no right whatsoever to stop the National Assembly. But what we are talking about is that now that the order is already there, they have given to you. You people should address yourself, say that this particular order should be vacated. And if need be, you can send a petition to NJC against that the judge that issued that order. We are talking about procedure. As I'm speaking to you now, if I'm leaving this studio now, I'm going to court. A client of mine will be arraigned this morning. I have challenged that judge of sitting in this matter. But my client, come, you will be in court. Then we now raise the issue. So everything has procedure. You must follow the procedure. That is my position. All
right, thank you so much. I just want to mention that it's not asking the Senate President to step down in terms of be removed. It is that whilst the case is going on, and Senator Bukola Saraki actually cited an example of his own experience when he had to step aside. So it's not to ask him to be removed. It's to step aside in this particular matter, just to get facts straight. Mr. Okere, your take on this story. I asked you a question as to representation.
That's exactly what we are saying. We're talking about justice in the matter. If you want to follow the rules, you follow the rules, in its totality. And the rules are subject to constitutional provision. The Constitution is a ground on that has guaranteed everybody right to fair hearing. What we are saying is that Natasha is entitled to fair hearing, basic principles of fair hearing. And one of the two litmus tests that has been upheld by the Supreme Court of Nigeria and even the courts in England over the years is the issue of Nemo Judes Nkosaswa and Audu Hateren Patem, that somebody must be heard, and you cannot sit as a judge in your own cause. That's what we are saying, that Natasha cannot get justice in this matter. If you want, yes.
Okay, the question I asked you is around, can she represent her petition following the proper procedure, and then what will then happen? That's what I asked you.
If she notices any defect, as pointed out by her colleagues, that under the Senate rules, you are not supposed to sign a petition yourself, and she think that she want to withdraw that particular petition and represent another petition that is signed on her behalf. She has the privileges to do that, like as she said on the floor of the Senate at the plenary, that denying her the right and privilege to submit her petition is denying her privilege and right as a senator. So she has that fundamental right to withdraw that petition and represent it. But I don't even see that a senator that made a personal petition that concerns her, this is not like a petition from her constituents that to her to present on their behalf at the floor of the Senate. This is a petition, her personal petition, arising from an incident that happened at the plenary, at the floor of the National Assembly. She now made a further media clarification on this platform and on the issue of sexual harassment and abuse of office, which she stated clearly that my petition is on sexual harassment and abuse of office. So she signing that petition, I don't see it as a major, breach that should deny her fair hearing on that particular petition. Laws are dynamic. Laws are not static. If there's a standing rule that says you mustn't sign a petition that you present, probably that if you are presenting a petition on behalf of your constituents, but if she has scripted a petition personally on an incident that happened at the plenary, at the floor of the Senate, and she has now reduced it into a petition to present officially, and she signatured it, I don't see it as any big deal. I don't see it as any major defect. But if that is what the Senate standing rule says, and she has that right and privilege to withdraw and have another person sign it on her behalf and represent. But the substance of the matter must not be swept under the carpet. She said yesterday at the floor of the Senate that my petition is on sexual harassment. A public officer shall not put himself in a situation where his personal interests conflict with her official duties. And this is exactly what the lady said, that is abuse of office. Okay. So I'm also calling on Senator Natasha to, do a further petition to the Code of Conduct Bureau, to investigate the matter. The Code of Conduct Bureau has the constitutional power to look into her petition, and if they establish a prima facie case, they can refer it to the Code of Conduct Tribunal.
Mr. Akere, thank you so much for your thoughts. I'll come to you, Mr. Maxwell Okpara, and I'll point out two case scenarios where I saw bias on the part of the Senate and why this case has shown that the Senate Ethics Committee will not be fair to one of the parties in this matter. The first case, the first part was what you said just now. Now, why didn't they respect the court injunction that said stop the proceedings? Because that was served on them. I have a letter here that talks about when they even wrote to the clerk as regards that. So they have ample information. And let me also tell you the trick they play, the other part of bias here. The sitting was supposed to be held today. Probably they got wind of the fact that Natasha was going to court. They cleverly pushed it one day forward. Are all of these things not pointing to bias? You yourself said with your mouth that why didn't they respect the court order and at least wait till Friday when they go to the court again? It was supposed to be held today. They cleverly pushed it one day forward to yesterday. That's one point.
Yes. Rufai, can I answer you?
No, the second point will be how quick the Senate Ethics Committee was so quick to talk about the fact that, hey, yes, the case is in court, in the likes of, as regards the Natasha case, so we will not be able to take it, apart from the fact that they said she did not follow the procedure, which was correct, but the case is in court, so we'll not be able to take it. But when that same ethics committee saw a court injunction, they violated the court injunction. So with all these scenarios, I want both of you to react to it. Mr. Maxwell Okpara, I'll come to you first. Then Mr. Kingdom Okere, I'll come to you afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. Before I answer a question, there is Kingdom raised a very one fundamental issue here. The rules said, look at how the procedure should be taken. No exception. I'm here to talk about law. I'm not here to talk about sentiments. If you fail to follow the rules as prescribed by the rules of the court, you are going to fail it. There is no exception. There is no sentiment. That one is one. Then the issue of bias, which Kingdom also raised, that particular issue has not been raised before by Natasha. She has never raised that issue. Now, if probably
Maxwell Okpara, you yourself, a couple of minutes ago, said with your own mouth, not my mouth, that if for anything's worth, as long as the injunction was out in the court, you should have respected the court and the committee should not have gone ahead with their sitting.
I'm still on it. I never changed. I'm still on it. I said, since once the court order has served on them, they are expected to obey that court order and go back to that court and challenge the jurisdiction of the court of issuing that order.
So why did they go ahead with the sitting? Why did they go ahead with the sitting yesterday? Is that not bias? Why did they go ahead with the sitting yesterday? Is that not bias against Natasha?
I cannot say that constituted bias. Really? Because what constitutes bias, the ingredients of bias is there. I cannot say that. It's left for Natasha and her lawyer to raise those issues. It is not for me to say so.
Because of their own innate intention, decide to violate the courts of our land on an issue where the court says, hold on till Friday. Secondly, this same committee deliberately shifted the day forward as against the other day set aside before. Are you not saying that's not bias against a party involved? What are you saying?
Rufai, understand my position. Once court gave an order, everybody, including the National Assembly, is expected to comply with that order until that particular order is being set aside. If the National Assembly received the order and still went ahead to sit, they did not do well. I must say it. Because an order of court must be obeyed. Yes, you may have a good case saying that the court have no right to stop you from carrying out your legislative function. But you cannot say it in your house. You must go to the court, file action against the court, asking court to set aside that particular order. If you can even take another step of writing petition against the judge because the judge abused his power.
Mr. Okpara,
yes.
Thank you for your thoughts. We'll go to Mr. Okere. What's your rebuttal to all of this?
Okay, thank you so much. I think I understand your question. You are saying that the issue of bias and whether Natasha will get justice before this committee, and you cited two instances. One bringing the sitting date of the committee forward when they got the hint that Natasha was already in court, and two, having been served with order of the court, they also proceeded, to conduct the affairs of that committee. So that is evident. It's evidently abundantly clear that Natasha will not get justice before the chairman of Senate Committee on Ethics and Public Petition, a chairman that is appointed by Godswill Akpabio, and that chairman knowing also that Godswill Akpabio can unilaterally remove him without any explanation as the chairman of that committee. I'm telling you that Natasha will not get justice from that committee. Two, they have already established this fact by, first of all, without even looking at the content of her petition, they declared her petition null and void, dead on arrival. The chairman himself said that this year petition is dead on arrival and cited Senate rule that she signatured it herself and that the matter was already in court. They have not even looked at the subject of the petition. They've not read the introduction. They've not read the body of the petition. They've not read the conclusion to determine what was before them in form of petition and what was at the Federal High Court in a civil lawsuit, which Natasha explained yesterday at the plenary that the issue before the Federal High Court is defamation, cyberbullying by SA to the Senate President, not on the issue of sexual harassment. So a committee that acted this way hurriedly declared a petition that they have not read to be dead on arrival. How would you describe that committee as not being biased? They are obviously biased. And I'm telling you that no man sits as a judge in his own cause. Akpabio is the respondent in Natasha's petition. Akpabio should step aside for there to be thorough, hearing and investigation of the petition. That is what we are saying. It has crossed that bar of whether or not. Thank you.
No, I think the point is clear. Gentlemen, both of you said a lot about adjectival law, about procedural law. Let the other side be heard. No man should be a judge in his own cause. Let justice be done, even if the heavens fall. And then, of course, procedure is important. All of that is clear. But let's go beyond legalism. What is your assessment of the implications of this for the integrity of the National Assembly, especially now that we had that spectacle yesterday in the presence of a visiting UK parliamentary delegation of a pro-Uduagam group, a pro-Akpabio group? What do you say to that? And then Maxwell, as for the matter of the court and the injunction ex parte order by Justice Donatus Iguatu, well, the court sits again tomorrow, right? Yeah, let's see whether Justice Iguatu will charge the committee for contempt. If you don't respect court orders, then the court should charge you for contempt, away from the face of the court, as far as Korea. But let's start with you, Maxwell. How about the integrity of this institution? Now that the Senate is operating its affairs on the streets of Nigeria with a placard carrying people taking sides.
Well, my Dr. Bat is very unfortunate. And of course, nobody is happy seeing the people that are supposed to representing us talking another issue altogether. Something happened at Ministry of Women Affairs yesterday. While some persons were at the National Assembly protesting for either of the parties, I, Maxwell Opera, and my few groups, we are at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Women Affairs protesting against the poor little children whose hope has been destroyed. Now, the point we are making is that it is no good. Every writing person should condemn it because this is our country. We don't have any other country apart from this. So I am pleading that the Senate should look for a way to get this matter resolved. If you have a good case, present it following the procedure. Just like Kingdom Okere said. If you watch, most of the Senate are not happy with Natasha Akpoti. It's not as if that probably they have ruled saying that maybe she has no right to present her case. But the way she conducted herself, even if you watch the first this thing started, few persons approached her, go back to your seat, let us hear you. She refused. So her conduct and the way she's following, look at this petition. Does it mean that nobody guide you? All those SAs that are with you, does it mean that they did not guide you to say, no, you are not supposed to sign this particular petition? It's against the rule. everything, you are just rushing everything as if somebody is pushing you. So that is where we are, what we are talking about, of an integrity of Nigeria. Of course, those of us that are traveling, we see how they normally see our green passports. So there's nothing we can do than to continue to talk. At least thanking our rights for giving us this platform to know that we are talking. I hear them saying there are some people that are talking. So that's what we can do, and also pray.
Okay, Kingdom, talk.
Yes, about the integrity. Well, that is also the essence of what we are doing, as lawyers in defense of democracy, and so many other civil society, coalition and organizations, that have spoken out, because we believe in the sanctity of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we believe that a man presiding over the affairs of the Nigerian Senate, should be a man of honor, should be a man, that shouldn't have this kind of skeleton in his cupboard. This woman, Senator Natasha, made serious allegations, that mustn't be swept under the carpet, and she said these things happened, with my husband, closely at my back, and that the husband was even eavesdropping, So it calls for concern. And I am, on the issue of integrity, I am charging all the institutions of the federal government of Nigeria. There's a code of conduct bureau that is a foremost anti-corruption agency, that should, oversee the issue of abuse of office, abuse of privilege, and the issue of integrity in public service. I am encouraging Senator Natasha, to, extend her petition to the Code of Conduct Bureau. They are constitutionally empowered to look into petitions, and if they establish a prima facie case, on the petition, they refer it to the Code of Conduct Tribunal, so that probably Akpabio will be the next sitting Senate president after Bukola Saraki that may face, the Code of Conduct Tribunal. So the issue of integrity of the Senate, must not be compromised. That's what we are saying as lawyers in defense of democracy. We are saying that this matter should be thoroughly investigated, and for there to be justice, if you want to apply the law, if you want to apply the rule of law and the rule of justice, apply it strictly. You don't have to apply rule of law in one instance and abandon rule of law in another instance. So if you want the matter truly handled in accordance with the Senate standing rules and in accordance with the fair hearing provisions of the 1999 Constitution, you do that unbiasedly. And doing that, the first point of call is for the Senate President to step aside, for him to step aside, because he cannot be a judge on his own cause. He is the respondent. Senator Akpabio is the respondent in Natasha's petition. He has to step aside. He cannot be a judge on his own cause. So if they don't want to, if they don't want to follow, finally, if they don't want to follow the law strictly, they can apply political solution to it. Call Natasha.